We start this part of the show with information on a home loan program and get an update on disaster relief. Joining us is Republican Representative Clint Crowe of Jackson. He chairs the House Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee. He's a former law enforcement officer and currently a second-generation realtor. Also here is Representative Derrick Jackson of Tyrone. Among other things, he's a retired military officer with the U.S. Navy. His committees include Defense and Veterans Affairs, Budget and Fiscal Affairs Oversight. It's a long name, but welcome to Lawmakers.
Thank you for having us.
I appreciate that. We're going to start with you in this Georgia Dream Peach Advantage loan program. It launched last July for home buyers. So tell us a little bit about what it means and how people can get involved.
Yeah, so Georgia Dream program we're talking about, the DCA, the Department of Community Affairs, administers this, and there's a lot of different programs to help provide loans, specifically loan programs for first responders, police, firefighters, EMS, teachers, military veterans. They have some down payment assistance programs, and I've had some legislation last year that increase the cap. So the way they fund these is by selling mortgage revenue bonds. And it's actually an authority with the state that's not backed by the full faith and credit of the state, but the authority that is set up through that DCA manages. And it's a fantastic program. And and I'll tell you one quick story. We had a young firefighter and a school teacher trying to buy their first home this fall. And they were getting a USDA loan from the Department of Agriculture. Right as they went to submit their paperwork, the federal government shut down.
No.
And they were in a real bind because the seller needed to move on. And so we were able to move them over to the Georgia Dream program, and they were able to rush it and get them through. And so they were able to buy their home. And there's tons of stories like that we've seen. It's a real advantage.
Where do people go to get more information on it and to sign up?
So a lot of different lenders in the state. You can talk to any mortgage broker. Most of them can underwrite these through the Department of Community Affairs, but you can also go on the Department of Community Affairs website and check out the Georgia Dream program, and they can help you find a lender that can walk you through the process.
Okay, all right then. I'm sure there'll be people getting on the phone or going on their computer right now. Representative Jackson, we're going to completely change directions here because you're here to talk about legalizing cannabis, recreational cannabis, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So, and I appreciate being on Lawmakers, and for my bill, it spells out the difference between decriminalization and legalization.
Okay.
My bill is solely on decriminalization, simply meaning that if you have 2 ounces or less of marijuana, you're not going to go to jail. Legalization is very different. Legalization, much like alcohol, right? The state government will say, we'll tax it, you can buy it and sell it. My bill is not addressing legalization. It's only talking about decriminalization. So that way, those who have a need for personal use, less than 2 ounces, they will be able to enjoy themselves smoking marijuana.
How many states have something similar to that?
There are 24 states, and so Georgia needs to catch up, right? Because when you think about this, and I know my dear friend on the other side of the aisle is in law enforcement, by decriminalizing marijuana, now we won't be tying up law enforcement 3 or 4 hours to fill out paperwork because somebody have an ounce of marijuana. And that, in Georgia last year, 7,500 Georgians were arrested for having marijuana for less than an ounce. With my bill, that goes away. It's simply like getting a traffic ticket. You get a traffic citation, you have to pay your $100, and you're on your way, and that's done.
Okay, what do you think about it?
Well,
you're just hearing about it.
Yeah, I just heard about it. That's it's obviously something that I don't know that at first glance it would be something I would be a big supporter of. I do think that there's a conversation to be had around that. It is being used quite a bit, but there's also been alternatives. Even when I was still policing, we had the option, because it was misdemeanor possession, you could always issue a citation for that and not have to make them post a bond. So you've always been able to issue a citation for that. And there was a lot of officers that used their discretion as to whether or not it warranted them needing to make an arrest. So I do think there are still some perils that can come from the recreational use of marijuana that can lead to other stronger drugs. So, I don't know that I would be in favor of that.
Well, it sounds like it's worth the conversation.
Well, absolutely, because, and I appreciate the discretion piece, because 3 to 4 times more often, Black men and women end up going to jail because of subjectivity. My bill would take that subjectivity out. And so we do not want our law enforcement profiling those who actually need it. As a retired military officer, some may need marijuana because they're dealing with PTSD. They don't want something as harsh as opioids. And so there are a lot of good health benefits from this particular plant. And so by decriminalizing, we would not only standardize this across Georgia, all 536 cities, all 159 counties, because you have counties and cities right now that are decriminalizing this. This is a bold step the state that could take and say, we're going to decriminalize this across all of Georgia.
Okay. Like I said, we'll continue the conversation. Chairman Crowe, you led the Disaster Mitigation and Resilience Study Committee in 2024. So bring us up to date on what's happening.
Yeah, so several of the recommendations that we had from the committee, we've already seen the fruits of some of those. One of the recommendations was to move Georgia onto the next generation 911 system. We've made a lot of headway towards that. The governor in last year's budget put some funding towards it. We had a 911 fee study committee in this off season that was chaired by a chairman from the north side of Atlanta. Yeah,
can't remember
he's going to kill me
Okay.
because I can't think of his name right now. It's terrible. But that committee, we looked at the funding mechanism for the 911 fee and how we could take that and utilize that to implement Next Gen 911. There was also some timber tax credits for South Georgia that got implemented last year. And we're still working on adding a resilience officer, possibly within GEMA, to really focus on disaster mitigation and resilience to try to increase funding for that and to increase our focus on that. You know, we did that study committee during the season when we were having the hurricanes come through.
Right.
The timing
Helene and
was
everything, yeah.
Yeah, the timing was really critical that we were having that. But just these last 2 weekends, we've had winter storms.
Yeah.
And so.
And then when the power goes out and you don't have access to that 911 system,
Yeah.
you really think think about it.
You did.
Yeah.
And it was Chairman
so-
Chuck Martin that chaired
yeah.
the 911
Okay, so
study
you got that
committee.
in. I'm so glad.
Chuck won't be mad at me.
I know,
He
I know,
did a
it's good.
fantastic job.
All right, switching gears again. Today, Representative Jackson, on the floor of the House, you recognize the 55th anniversary of the Thiokol chemical fire near Savannah, and it killed 29 people.
Yeah.
Talk about that. A lot of us didn't know about it.
Yeah, so this unfortunate tragedy took place right here in Georgia on February 3rd, 1971, 55 years ago. And 29 of these Black women died. And this plant was a plant where a significant majority of Black men and women worked. It gave them an opportunity to earn a living. And this plant was also helping our military during Vietnam. Well, in the curing room, the flare that they were manufacturing sparked, and it created a chain reaction, and it devastated the plant. And unfortunately, these 29 women that we recognize on the floor today, not only to commemorate them, but to let the families that were also came from Savannah and the coastline, to let them know that we did not forget, and we have more to do.
I know. I'm so glad you recognize them. I want to get into something real quick, and we don't have a lot of time. I wanted to get your opinion on what's going on with ICE. I know there are some bills, and you have one. What do you think? Should there be some things happening in Georgia when it comes to ICE?
Well, there's obviously a lot of conversation. The majority of those bills have been assigned to the committee that I chair.
Yeah.
And we've gotten a lot of committee hearing requests for those, and we'll be sitting down and having some discussions with the sponsors of those bills. I'm having a meeting in the next day or two with our legislative council for the committee, because honestly, we need to see what role we can take as far as overseeing a federal law enforcement agency. and what we can do legally to even do that. What I will say though is that we've had a lot of conversations around ICE. I think that what ICE does, the job that they do, is critical. I think we need men and women to do that job. I think that we need to make sure that our borders are enforced and that people who are here illegally do not remain. And so it's critical we have them and we support them. And with all of our law enforcement, whether it's local, state, or federal, I think the vast majority of officers that work in those departments are good men and women who are trying to keep our community safe.
Okay, Representative Jackson, you have one of the bills that may end up in the committee.
I do, because I think the use of ICE in Georgia is a misuse. They're causing all this fear and disharmony in Georgia. Last time I checked, Georgia's borders Florida, Alabama, South Carolina, and North Carolina and Tennessee. And so we don't need our border. Our borders are safe. Having ICE here in Georgia is a misplace of use of the federal government. And when you start to use anything that looks like the military and citizens are being intimidated or ending up dead, that's a problem for me. And so my bill is simply going to hold ICE accountable, because if they're going to do something in Georgia, we do have a right, we have sovereignty in accordance with our Constitution to do something about it.
Okay, well, we're going to keep up with all of this, and we may have to have you back on to talk about it.
Yes,
all right?
too.
Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much
Donna.
for coming on.